Here's another group of my unpopular opinions, my spiciest takes, my party-ruining thoughts. Statistically, these are all 100% correct, but have about a 20% chance of connecting with people. Number one, violent movies probably make people more violent. Fast and Furious made me want to drive faster. Rounders made me want to play poker and speak in a terrible Russian accent. Companies literally spend millions of dollars to have their product show up in a movie because Gatorade thinks that you're going to buy more Gatorade if you see somebody in a movie drinking Gatorade. But we've all just assumed, oh, but not with shooting. That won't affect us at all. The Midwest shouldn't be called that. It's not in the West. Denver is in the middle of the West. Iowa is the Middle East. Sword swallowing is nonsense. If I can still see the handle, you didn't swallow anything. That's just sword gagging at that point. Participation trophies didn't make anybody weak and soft. Every kid who ever got one hated it. No one was ever like, heck yeah, 9th place. You can tell they didn't mean anything to us because nobody kept them. You've never gone over to a millennial's house and there's a bunch of participation trophies on the mantelpiece. I'm just kidding. You've never gone over to a millennial's apartment. Religious people try to convince you that God is good and the devil is bad, but that cannot possibly be true because the devil makes much better eggs. Here's another round of my unpopular opinions, my spicy takes. I like to think of these as my 80-20 takes because 80% of people only like 1 in 5 and 20% of people are my people. Number one, the dumbest thing a writer can add to a movie is a line where a character says to another character, "This isn't a movie, this is real life." Because it is a movie, and we all know that. In fact, one of the ways you can tell is because no one says that in real life. So if somebody ever comes up to you and says, "This isn't a movie, this is real life," that's how you found out you're actually in a movie. It's totally fine to bring a fake service animal on planes. I don't care if you don't have anything wrong with you or you just bought that vest on Amazon. It's fine. Yeah, not every dog is perfectly well trained for a plane, but you know who else isn't? People. People are at best 50% able to behave themselves on planes. Every time I've seen somebody be rude to a flight attendant, it was a person, not a dog. In fact, you should be required to get a note from your doctor to bring a person on a plane. Doves are just fuckable pigeons. Die Hard is the movie with the largest gulf between how good the movie is and how terrible the name is. When people die, we should ignore all of their wishes. We should throw out their will, their last requests, anything they planned for the funeral. They're not here, doesn't affect them. You don't get to micromanage from beyond the grave. And if you're somebody that I know and you're worried that I'm not gonna respect your final wishes and I'm just gonna do whatever I want, of course not. No one acts like that. This is the real world. This is not a movie. Time for another round of unpopular opinions, my most out-of-pocket takes. I like to think of these as my 80-20 opinions because about 80% of people only like 1 in 5. Number one, aphrodisiacs are fake. I've never been in a situation where I'm like, you're hot, we're alone, all I need now to get hard is an oyster. Every list of aphrodisiacs always puts chocolate near the top, and if that was true, then Halloween. Look, I didn't make up the rules. I didn't put it on that list. That's on you. I don't believe it. Just in case, I don't give out chocolate anymore at Halloween. You get Skittles if you come by my place. Just to be safe, you get non-arousing fruit candy every time. That's the Falcone promise. Number 2, sunrises are just sunsets for dweebs. Number 3, pumpkin as a flavor is punching way above its weight. This is a garbage squash that the Pilgrims only ate in the fall because their lives were a living hell. They had no other choice. And then we turned it into a spooky decoration because we know one of the scariest thoughts is having to eat this trash melon. Pranks aren't funny. If you do them, you suck. If you make videos about them, you're a monster. What is the point of view of this joke? Oh, somebody was sad for a second, but then they weren't? I inconvenienced a stranger for a little while? Ha 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 ha. Good one. Seriously, nothing. Number 5, this is a personal rule in my life. If you butt dial me, I get to speak to your butt. There's no accidents in the world. Your butt chose me. I get to talk to it now. Put your butt on the phone. I'm going to tell it some opinions about pumpkin. Here's another round of my unpopular opinions, and I've gotten feedback that some of my opinions recently have been too popular, so buckle up. Number 1, Lin-Manuel Miranda is corny. His raps sound like they were made up for Whose Line Is It Anyway about an audience volunteer who works at the mall. Rats are a hugely underrated animal. They have cute little faces, they eat with their little hands, and one time, a rat prepared a dish that was so delicious it melted the heart of famously negative food critic Anton Ego and made him drop his pen in astonishment. Rats are amazing. Number 3, Connections, the puzzle in New York Times, is too easy. You're just bad at puzzles. It's not your fault. They tricked you with Wordle into thinking puzzles shouldn't be something that's hard. They should just be something that takes 15 seconds and requires no knowledge or thought. Rats are incredibly trainable. They can be used to sniff landmines and tuberculosis. They were blamed for the Black Plague, but it turns out it probably was not their fault. And one time a group of rats escaped from the National Institute of Mental Health, and they used simple machines to help Mrs. Brisby relocate her house and save her family. Rats are awesome. Age isn't just a number, it's a measurement represented by a number. The distance to Canada is just a number. Your weight on the moon is just a number. Something being represented numerically doesn't make you less of a creep. Rats show empathy. They love driving around in tiny little rat cars, and one time a rat helped Charlotte save Wilbur the pig, even though he didn't personally like Wilbur the pig. And then also he got to go to the fair, and he loved it because the fair is a veritable smorgasbord. Rats are the best. It's time for another round of unpopular opinions, and I keep getting feedback that these are too popular, so I'm trying my hardest to be as spicy as possible this time. Number 1, butterflies are overrated. They're not scientifically different from moths, they're just the colorful ones, and just because some entomologist was horny for one of these mini beasts and not the other, doesn't make them great. They're still totally disgusting flying bugs. Number 2, this painting of Britain's top boy emerging from a cloud of pink goo kind of rules. Obviously, monarchies in any form are dumb. I don't support any of them. I don't support prom kings or the Burger King. I don't even support kingfishers. Their beaks are too long. But given that, a king having somebody paint a picture of him is an awful genre, and the fact that this one isn't boring is hugely to its credit. My only complaint is he's got a butterfly landing on his shoulder. It's disgusting. Number 3, we've had enough Spider-Men. We don't need any more. Shut it down. It's over. Number 4, purple is the worst color. Number 5, nobody has ever had an interesting dream. Dreams are boring. They're just literally some stuff that did not happen to you. If you couldn't be bothered to stay awake through this whole story, neither can I. And finally, moths are underrated. They were fuzzy little caterpillars who had a midlife crisis and turned into emo butterflies. They're not overcompensating with the colors of their wings. They're just getting it done in the grayscale, and for that, I applaud them.